Welcome to another fabric haul. Today I will be showing you the materials that I picked up while I was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I'll also be showing you some fabrics that I picked up to complement them, and those fabrics were purchased in the garment district in New York City. And on top of all that, I will be sharing my opinions on the stores that I went to and some footage from inside the shops, because I thought you guys might find that interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get started because there's a lot of fabric to go through and I don't want this video to be too long. Also, I'm wearing my silly flower headband again because I'm having a really bad hair day and it's making me feel slightly better about it. The first place we went was Fabric Mart, and this was a very interesting little shop. It doesn't look too promising from the outside, and it doesn't look too promising when you initially walk in either. It's kind of run down. There's a really creepy mannequin, there doesn't seem to be a lot of stock in the front room, and there aren't prices on anything and the employees don't know the prices. You have to look up the prices on their website on your phone. So it isn't the most convenient shopping experience just because of that. And it's also kind of strange because they're cutting fabric and dealing with customer service and packing fabric and shipping fabric for their online store in the same areas that you're supposed to be browsing. I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it because I felt like I was in people's way. But that being said, they did have a lot of really nice fabric. I'd say that they had a little bit of everything and they had relatively unique materials within each category. And the best part was that they had 4 little racks of $1 a yard fabrics at the front of the store, which just astounded me because I've never really seen fabric that cheap, even in the garment district. So I was really happy that we stopped here, and I'm kind of jealous of anyone who has that as a local fabric store. The first fabric I got there was from the $1 a yard section. I saw this when we first walked in, and I immediately picked it up, and I was determined to carry it around with me the entire time so no one else could take it. And it's this beautiful rose printed satin. The base color for this is a very pale pink, and then it has coral colored roses and light pink leaves all over it. I have no idea why this was so cheap. It feels like your typical polyester bridal satin, so though it isn't the best of quality, there's nothing wrong with it that I can see. I purchased 11 yards of it, and this entire length of it cost $11, which is just, like, you can't beat that. That's such a fantastic price. And I want to use this for an 18th century court gown, specifically a sackback gown. I'm not sure how well the satin will pleat and if it will necessarily be successful, but I really love the print of this, and it reminds me how flowers were painted in the 18th century, even if it isn't the most accurate type of fabric or the most accurate print. And to go along with that, I picked up 5.5 yards of a raw silk dupioni when I was in the garment district, and this fabric is beautiful. I usually don't love silk dupioni because I feel like it looks like it has snags all the way across it, but the texture of this fabric is very consistent, so to me it doesn't look like a mistake, it just looks like the texture of the fabric, and I don't really mind it. And I'm totally willing to overlook that because it's such a perfect color match, and the weight of this is just stunning. It has that crispness that you get with silk, but it's so soft, and when the light hits it, it just has the prettiest sheen. And I found this in the first store I went into in the garment district. I wasn't even looking for this particular fabric in that store, but I walked past it and it caught my eye, and I ended up getting the final cut on the bolt. So I got the 5.5 yards for $40, which is an absolute steal when it comes to silk. So I'm really, really pleased with this, and I can't wait to work with it. In the home decor section, I came across this embroidered mesh. It has a pretty leafy and vine-like pattern on it, but I think what I like most are all the colors in it. It's mostly beige, but there are metallic green and gold and purple threads woven into it, and it's so pretty and so unique, and I think it would look so nice on the top of an Edwardian dress. So that's probably what I'm going to end up using it for. I do have some two-tone chiffon that's been in my collection for a while that matches the purpley color in this, so hopefully I can pair this with that. Then from the silk section, I splurged a little bit. Their silks were quite expensive. I think they averaged $20 to $30 a yard, but they did have some really unique silks, and I ended up falling in love with 2 of them, and I took them both home with me. So the first one is this metallic striped beige fabric, and I don't know what type of silk this is. It's a lot softer than a silk taffeta, but it isn't as flowy as a silk satin or anything like that. It's just a really nice lightweight silk, and I love the sheen that this fabric has. It's just a very subtle, very soft shine, and these stripes look really beautiful when the light hits them because they're made out of metallic gold thread, and then there are little navy and gray stitches within the stripes as well. I only picked up a yard of this, and I think it was $15 a yard. This next one is the most expensive fabric I've ever purchased that isn't lace, but I think it was worth it because I'm just so in love with it, and I know if I'd left it behind I would have regretted it. It's this beautiful silk taffeta, and once again it's kind of a beigey oatmeal color, and then it has velvet flocked floral and spiral designs on it, and I'm so in love. I just think this fabric is the most striking material I've ever seen. It's so crisp and sharp, and I just absolutely adore it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I purchased 2 yards, so that's enough to make a jacket or a bodice or pretty much anything I want that isn't a full dress. And when I was in the garment district, I picked up 3 yards of black micro velvet to go with it. Even though I don't know what I'm going to make out of it, I feel like I'm definitely going to end up pairing it with black velvet because they look so nice together. And I purchased this from the shop that used to be Fabrics for Less. They're under new ownership now, so I don't know if they've changed their name, but it's a really nice shop in the garment district, and this was $7 a yard. And the next store I went to was called Goodville Fabrics, and this was a very interesting store as well. It was this giant warehouse, and it was just filled with pallets upon pallets of fabric. There was a smaller front room with quilting fabric, and then the rest of the warehouse was just apparel fabric and upholstery fabric. The selection of fabric was kind of odd. They did have a lot of apparel fabrics, but they also had a lot of very cheap, scratchy upholstery fabrics, like lots of weirdly printed vinyl or materials that were so stiff and so scratchy they felt like hotel carpeting. So a lot of them wouldn't really work for the things that I do, but it was still a really cool store to look around in just because I'm not used to seeing that type of fabric and that amount of fabric. So from the notion end of things, I picked up this 50-yard spool of blue satin ribbon. It's very thin ribbon and it's edged with gold stitching, and it's just really pretty. I also picked up some buttons there. I got 3 packs in this beige color, just because I thought they'd be handy to have around. I picked up 2 sets in this bright watermelon red, and then I got 3 sets in this bright green, which I'm really hoping will match the plaid fabric that I purchased online a while back. Then I got 3 yards of polyester satin, and this looks a little bit nicer than most polyester satins I've seen, and it was $4 a yard. I got this hoping it would match the lace that I purchased, and then I figured I could use it for an Edwardian evening gown. It doesn't quite match, but I'm still going to try and make it work, and if I can't, then that will become fabric for mock-ups. From the same store, I also picked up 2 lightweight wool suitings, and I'm going to try and use these for Edwardian suits since I really want to make a few more structured designs from that period. And the first one is this black, gray, and white houndstooth. And this has that wonderful, iconic wool suiting texture that I just love. And this was $3 a yard, so I picked up 4 yards of it. And this one was the same price. It's brown and gray, and then it has navy and pink and light blue stripes going through it. But it's a very subtle print, which I like. Once again, it was $3 a yard, and I got 4 yards of it. Another by-the-yard fabric I purchased from them is this really vibrant cotton plaid. And this has fuchsia in it, and purple, and gray, and green, and it's just such a pretty color and pattern. I bought this hoping that it would work for a really bright 1830s dress. There's a plaid dress from that period in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I've been in love with it for years. So I was really hoping that this would work for something similar, and I think it still might, though I'm not sure how period accurate these colors are. Though I know they could make orange and purple and pink, I don't know if they were really using those fabrics and plaids until later periods. So I'm gonna have to do a bit of research on that, but that's what I got this for, and I got 6 yards and it was $4 a yard. The next 3 things are all flat cuts, and flat cuts are fabrics that have been pre-cut and folded and the price is usually reduced. And I think they do this for fabrics that have been damaged or just aren't selling as well as expected. So the first one I got is a green and beige cotton homespun. I feel like green is a rare color to come across in apparel fabric, so when I saw this it just made me happy and I decided to get it. Once again, this will probably be used for a dress from the early 1800s. I don't know what type of design it will have, but I'm sure we'll come up with something eventually. This was in the cotton homespun section as well, but it feels much lighter and much thinner, and there are 3 3/8 of a yard of it. And I thought this would make a really pretty historical blouse. I know I made an 1860s blouse in this color relatively recently, so I'll have to come up with a slightly different design so they don't look too similar, but that's what I have in mind for this. I did get 2 flat cuts from their upholstery / home decor section as well, and they were $1 a yard. The first one I got had orange and red 1/2-inch stripes, and then there were gold stripes running through them. But that fabric is already mostly used up because I decided to make an 1880s day dress out of it, so I'll try and insert a photo of what it looks like so far, because I don't have the fabric in its original form to share with you. This guy was $1 a yard, and so was the red and orange striped one. As for what I'm going to use this for, I really have no idea. I think it would make a pretty cool mid-1500s dress, and then I could put little sequins where each diamond meets. But at the same time, I feel like this fabric's going to fray a lot and not be very nice to work with. I don't know if I want to invest that much time working with the fabric as crappy as this one. So we'll have to wait and see. It may end up becoming mock-up fabric, but either way, it was only $1 a yard, so it was worth it. And the final thing I got from this place is a bolt of organza. This is a 25-yard bolt, and it was 49 cents a yard, so I ended up paying like 12 bucks for the bolt, which I'm very happy with. It's probably the worst feeling organza I've ever felt, but I'm going to use it for a petticoat, and for that purpose it's perfectly fine. I've been wanting to make an organza petticoat to go underneath some 1830s dresses for quite a while, and I've also wanted to make a petticoat video tutorial for a while. So I think that's what I'm going to use this fabric for. And I also got 10% off at Goodville Fabrics because I had a coupon, so the materials were even cheaper than the prices that I was shouting out. The next shop I went to was called Zooks, and this is primarily a quilting fabric store, but they did have a few racks of apparel fabric, and a lot of the apparel fabrics were on sale, and then they had 20% off your entire purchase going on. So it was just a fantastic deal. I picked up 2 apparel fabrics. The first one is this green, and once again I purchased this hoping it would match the lace that I got in the first store. It's just a really pretty soft green material with slightly darker green stripes running through it. And I think this one was $2 a yard, so I picked up 3 yards. And the next one I got there is a really lightweight orange fabric, and it has little stripes and texture running through it as well. I just thought this was really pretty, and the color perfectly matches the next fabric I purchased, which is 7.5 yards of this homespun fabric. It was reduced down to $2 a yard. No clue why, because it's beautiful and it feels beautiful, and I really love the colors in this. I thought this would make a really cute 1840s gown. And then I thought I could use the orange fabric I got to do a ruffle around the hem. I think thanks to the sales I ended up spending $24 at that shop, which is just insane for how much material I got. The next shop is called The Lace Place, and this is a by appointment only store, so you have to call ahead to make sure that someone will be there. I originally emailed the place on Wednesday, and I didn't get a response until Saturday afternoon. So definitely call as far ahead of time as you can, so it doesn't disrupt your schedule and you know whether or not you'll be able to go. This store was much nicer than I was expecting. It was set up a lot like the trim shops in the garment district, where there's just a full wall of lace and then there are racks upon racks of it throughout the entire store. So it was neat to see a shop like that in such a rural area. At the same time, a lot of the trims weren't really to my taste. The cotton trims were quite stiff, and I felt like the Venice lace, which is what I use most often, was a little bit overpriced. But there were a ton of nylon laces in every color you can imagine, and there were a lot of really pretty nylon laces as well that were very reasonably priced. So I was definitely very impressed by that, and I did end up getting quite a bit. The only thing I didn't like about this store was how slow the cutting and checkout process was. I purchased 11 yards of one fabric and then maybe a dozen other laces, and I think the checkout process took an hour. So I would recommend it if you're in the area and if you can get an appointment. Just maybe don't go if you're tight on time. The first thing I got there are grab bags. They had a basket of these near the front, and they're $1.50 each. And they're this big. I kind of wanted them all, but I managed to hold myself back, and I only got 3. So this is the first one. There's also this one, and this one, which I've already opened. I haven't opened the other 2, but I'm really impressed with the one I have opened. There were 3 different types of trim that I had about 5 yards of, which is just crazy for $1.50. And then there were a few other trims that I had maybe 2 yards of, and a bunch of single yard and half yard cuts. So I think these were well worth the $1.50, and I'm really excited to go through the other ones and see everything that I got. The fabric I purchased from this place is a stiff netting that has gold spots on it, and I purchased this because it reminded me of Sissy's Star Ball Gown, which is a very famous dress from the 1860s. I think these spots are too close together for it to actually work for a recreation of that, but I thought it might be cool for something similar. It might make a really good base for sequins or look really cool underneath the sheer fabric to add a bit of sparkle. And I purchased 11 yards of this, and it was $3.95 a yard, but it was 25% off if you purchased more than 10 yards. So it ended up being like around $30 with 11 yards of it, which I think is pretty good. From the same store, I got a bunch of trim. The first of which is this beige cotton pin-tucked fabric, and I thought this would look really cool for decorative sections of a corset. I also got 2 yards of this. It's in this deep beige color, and it's just such a nice pattern. I thought this would look really pretty if it was embellished and then used for the sleeves on an Edwardian gown. I got a yard of this ribbon lace for the top of a corset that I recently finished. It's made out of a floral yellow fabric, and I thought this would look really pretty across the top of it. And then I got a yard of this weird diamond satiny ribbon, which I thought would look cool around a corset as well. I got 3 different eyelet cotton fabrics, which are right here, and I think I got 3 yards of each of them. And then I also got 3 yards of this really pretty embroidered mesh one in this beige color, and I want to use this for chemise. I think it would look really pretty around the hemline of one. I picked up this small lace in both pink and blue because it was 40 cents a yard or 30 cents a yard, and I couldn't resist. And I got 4 yards of each. I think these would be really pretty for doing some lace inset work on foundation garments. And then I got 2 black lace trims, which I thought would look pretty around the necklines of dresses. I don't have very many black lace trims, so I just thought these would be nice to have around. I got some more lace from a different store. It was a quilt store, and I don't recall the name of it, but they had a bunch of lace that was reduced down to 30 cents a yard. So I picked up 12 yards of this pink one, and this is a 3-tiered nylon lace, and it's ruffled. I don't particularly like how this lace looks or feels, but I thought it would work really well for petticoats. It would mean that I wouldn't have to make my own ruffles, which would be really convenient. So it's probably what I'm going to use this for. And then I got 18 yards of a very similar style that's completely beige. Then I got 2 yards of another similar lace, except this one has blue ribbon running through it. And I actually quite like how this looks, and I thought it'd be really cute on the hemline of bloomers. The same store is also having a sale on embroidery floss, where it's $1 for 4 of these guys. So I picked up 12 in a variety of greens and oranges and reds. I really want to improve at my embroidery, and I thought these would be nice colors for a floral pattern. So I picked those up with that in mind. That's everything that I got from stores in Lancaster, but I did pick up a few other things. Everywhere was closed on Sundays, so we ended up going to the quilt show, which was really cool. I saw a lot of quilts there that were just like mind-blowingly beautiful, and I'd never seen anything like them. There was one that was a woodland animal theme, and the quilting on it was just stunning, and it was done over silk de peony, so it had the prettiest sheen to it. And there were so many that were geometric designs that were done perfectly, and then they had little rhinestones studded throughout them to give a little bit of sparkle. And I just really enjoyed looking at the quilts a lot more than I was expecting to, since I don't think of myself as really being a quilt person. But I enjoyed that, and I also really enjoyed the vendors section. I got a couple of things that are sewing related, and then a couple of things that aren't really sewing related, and I'll show it all to you. So the first thing I got were trims. I got these 2 trims from one store, and I think they were $2.50 a yard. So I got 2 yards of each. This first one has a star pattern to it, and it's the most delicate lace I've ever seen. I just have no idea how this lace work even exists. I know machines do it, but it just kind of boggles my mind, and it was so pretty that I had to take some home with me. And the second one is an embroidered rickrack, and it's beige in color, and then it has red and green leaves woven through it. And I thought this would look really cute across the neckline and cuffs of a dress. So I bought it with that in mind. And I do have 6 yards of cotton sateen that trim would match really nicely, so hopefully I can end up pairing them together. From another store, I got a roll of quilt tape, and I plan on using this as binding for ruffles on an 1880s dress. I don't actually have fabric for it yet, but I thought having pinstriped binding on beige ruffles would look really cute. One of the kind of silly things that I purchased there was this wallet, and I can link the brand maker down below. I think it was like $27, which is more than it's probably worth, but I was really attracted to the color and the print. It has a vintage Singer sewing machine on one side, and then the iconic crossed swan scissors on the other side. I just really liked it. It made me smile. I've needed a new wallet for a while because my previous one wasn't very secure. So I'm very happy to have a new one. And my other unrelated purchase is this mask. It's like a proper masquerade mask. And it's made out of metal that's woven in a vine pattern, and it has crystals that are set into the pattern all the way across it. It's just so pretty and I love it so much. I want to make a dress to go with it and then just sit around my house wearing it because I think it's that cool. And my second to last purchase is kind of a notion. It's a set of Thera gloves. And these are like compression stockings slash support hose for your wrists. I've noticed a huge difference with these. Like a shockingly huge difference. Usually when my wrists are bothering me, I just take a day off or I take it a little bit easier that day. And with these, I could just throw them on and my wrist felt fine and I could keep working, and then at the end of the day I could ice them and it was great. I didn't have to stop or slow down. I just had to put these guys on. And I was just astounded because I really didn't have high hopes for these. I didn't think they would help that much, and even if they helped, I thought I would find them really uncomfortable. But these don't bother me at all. The only thing I don't like about them is that they're quite warm, so I have noticed my palms getting a little bit sweaty when I'm sewing with them on for several hours. But other than that, I really like them, and if you have wrist problems, I'd highly recommend giving them a shot. I don't feel like the quality quite matches the price, but I feel like they're definitely worth the money for how effective they are, or at least how effective they are for me. The final thing I got there is fabric, and it's this quilter's cotton, and it's printed with unicorns. And if you've been around for a while, then you might know how much I love unicorns. I'm just a fan of the species in general. So when I saw this, I just about died. It's so cute. It's primarily pale blue, and then it's covered with stars. There's pale green grass and flowers across the bottom, and then there are these white and pink unicorns running across each edge. And I bought this because I want to recover my ironing board. It's gotten kind of grubby, and I thought it would look really cute having little unicorns prancing across the bottom of it. Now I just have a couple things to show you from the garment district, and then this video is over. So the first fabric on my list was a striped silk taffeta, and I saw this fabric when I was in there for my birthday, and I decided not to get it because I thought it looked too nautical. I have thought about that fabric so much and regretted that decision so much. So when I went in this time, I took the swatch that I got in April, and I went to the store and I asked them if they had any left. And I was really concerned at first because I didn't see it in the store. It turns out they put it in storage, but they did still have some. The guy brought it out of storage and I got 8 yards of it. And this is the material. I can see a lot of people not liking this, but I just love it. I think it's such a pretty shade of blue, and I love how clean it looks against the white. And I thought this would make a really cute 18th century ensemble with a matching skirt and polonaise. I just think it's going to be so great. And I have some striped organza that I purchased in April that would make really cute trimming for this. So that's my plan for this guy, and I can't wait to work with it. And from the same shop, I was looking for a vibrant colored taffeta that would work for an 1890s dress. I attempted to make an 1890s dress in January, and I did recently finish it, but I absolutely hate how it turned out. There's just nothing that I like about it, and as soon as I finished making it, I knew I wanted to try making something similar, and hopefully do a better job of it this time. And I think with my newfound skills from working on that project, I can definitely do a better job. And I wanted to work with a better quality fabric too. So I looked at the silks and I came across this bright yellowy gold silk taffeta and I fell in love. I usually don't gravitate towards yellow or oranges since I really don't like them as colors. But something about this really stuck out to me. And once I felt it, I knew I had to have it because it has the most wonderful soft, moldable texture to it while still having that stiffness that taffeta has. I ended up getting 6 yards of it and it was $9 a yard, which is again just a really great deal. Both of those fabrics are from Diana's Fabrics, and I'm so excited to work with them. I can't even tell you. I think I'm going to be able to do something really great with them, and I'm really excited to make entire projects from silk because I've never done that before. The final 2 fabrics are both for an 1880s natural form era gown. I picked up 3 yards of a satin-faced chiffon for it, and this is in a really pretty sort of light camel color. It's darker than what I consider beige, but it's definitely lighter than brown, and it looks really nice with the taffeta and jacquard fabric that I already have for this project. The final fabric I purchased was by far the most expensive, and it's this embroidered beaded lace, and I only needed a half yard of this, so unfortunately I couldn't get the price down too much. And because of that, I ended up paying $25 for a half yard, which is just insane. But I didn't have very many trim options in this mocha light brown color. Most of the trims were too dark or they were beige, and that really wasn't what I was looking for. So I'm kind of just grateful that I managed to find something in this color, even though it wasn't quite the price point I wanted to be at. But I do think that price will be worth it since it's going to add so much to the bodice and to the hemline of the skirt. I really can't wait to get it cut apart and embellish it even further. because I also went to Beads World, where I picked up some different colors and sizes of sequins so I can make that lace and that dress even more sparkly. That's it for the garment district, but I just realized that I forgot something from Pennsylvania. So this is from a store called Vintage Collections with a K, an antique and collectible shop that was near Goodville Fabrics. And on the top floor of this shop, they had a few boxes of buttons. And next to the box, they had a coffee mug. And it was $15 for a box of buttons, and it was $3 for a scoop of buttons, and then it was all 20% off. So I purchased a box of buttons, and I do mean a box. This is full to the brim with beautiful gold metal buttons. It makes me feel like a pirate with a box of gold coins. I just love them so much. And in addition to that box, I also got two $3 scoops of these smaller ones, so I can pair those together if I end up making military-inspired uniforms or anything like that. I thought that was just a fantastic find. Once the discount and tax was countered in, I ended up paying $17. And that's it. This might be my biggest haul yet, but it is kind of collective since it's from 2 shopping trips, and it will definitely keep me busy for a long time. I probably got enough fabric for a dozen or so projects, and I really can't wait to start on them. I'm just feeling so much more enthusiastic than I was a few weeks ago, and I'm really excited to be back in such a creative mindset and to get working on all of these things. And if you want to hear updates about any of those projects, definitely check out my Instagram and Tumblr and WordPress. They will be linked in the description box, and I tend to update them more often than this channel. And I think that covers everything. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I shall talk to you all in another video very soon.